So we got a good question from our buddy who wishes to remain nameless, so we'll call him Bob. Bob says that recently he had an MMA fight where he fought in front of 1,500 people. He won in the first round by guillotine choke, and he said that leading up to this particular fight camp was amazing. He is the best he's ever been, both mentally and physically. But the problems come after the fight camp, where now, after this fight, he just hasn't been able to recapture that intensity. And he's wondering what's wrong with him, right? Like he wants to keep getting ready, but now he just can't get it again. And he says the problem with this is that his coach will have fights coming up in sometime in the near future, and he wants to take part in those fights, but he doesn't think that his coach will put him in there if he's not, getting after it in the gym. And so he's wondering what he can do to sort of get that intensity up again and ramp it back up. So Bob, first off, thanks for the question. And I think that we've all been there before if we've trained in some sort of combat sport, and sometimes you don't know why, right? Because sometimes you get in there and you're training and everything's going great, and then for some reason one day you just you putter out. But in your case, I think it's pretty easy to understand what's going on. You just came down off this high. Man, like I fought MMA, and I know what it's like, and as you understand, there's not a high quite like it. Man, when you're up here after a fight, you feel amazing, but you can't stay there forever. It's kind of like a wave. You went up, you won that fight first round in impressive fashion, you're in a hometown crowd, everybody's just like surrounding you with all this love and support, and then the fight's over with, and now you come down. And when you get back to training, a lot of times for me, at least after my fights, I didn't necessarily want to do it. So typically I would take a little week off, and then I would try to, ease myself back into it. So first off, there's nothing wrong with you. It's okay. It's normal. Going back to this wave analogy, think about a way that a wave works, right? It undulates. It goes up and down, up and down. And when I was thinking about your situation, man, think about it this way, right? You built up to this intensity, this high amount of intensity and volume of training, right? And you came crashing in, right? You think of a wave. It comes up, builds to a peak, and then it crashes on the shore. And what happens, right? Because you came crashing into the MMA fight, you won in impressive fashion, similar to the wave comes crashing into the shore. What happens when the wave crashes into the shore, it hits the shoreline? It recedes back. And then eventually it comes back in, and then it recedes back. There's a flow to it. It's the duality of nature, right? There's always a give and take, an ebb and a flow, an up and a down. So you're trying to fight against this natural pulling back of yourself. And that's not going to help you, because if you try to keep going up after this high that you're already experiencing, you're eventually, instead of riding the wave down, it's going to be like someone pulls a rug up from under you, and you're just going to crash. And so what I would say to you is the big thing you got to do is understand that this is just sort of natural. It's not natural to have this high for so long. You have to come down. And there's a certain sort of benefit to this, because to me personally, I feel like the growth in my game comes at these points, not at the highs, right? My growth comes when I'm in the lows, where I'm down and I'm not necessarily getting ready for a fight. Because I think about whenever I fought, I always thought about it in two ways. When the fight was coming up, when there was a fight looming, like where I was getting anxious and nervous and getting ready for the fight, my volume of training went up and my cardio had to go up. That to me was the time where I'm sharpening my weapons, right? I'm getting those blades ready for battle. But when there's no battle on the horizon, to me, I was going back and, now you're doing research and development. You're bringing new stuff in. You're trying new weapons. You're seeing what stuff's going to work. That's where you get your growth. And if you look at a lot of good fighters, think about these guys. Think about one of your favorite mixed martial arts fighter. If you watch the guy from fight to fight to fight to fight, he or she probably changes all the time. There's probably this evolution of that person from fight one to wherever they are now. And you want to be the same way. You want to make sure that you're not just, burning the candle at both ends until you putter out or get injured. You want to make sure that you fight hard, you go through that immense amount of volume and training, that intensity, and then when you come back down, now bring some new stuff into the game, try some new weapons out, and then when it's time to get ready for the next fight, then you ramp it back up, right? So again, we start up here, we just won the fight, now we're coming down. Let's bring some new stuff into that game. Oh, there's a next fight coming up. Boom, we ramp it back up. And to me, that was always helpful for my game, because I continue to evolve. I continue to have fun with it, because when I'm coming down off the fight, the thing that kept it fun for me was to, play around with new stuff, experience some new stuff, grow in different areas, because it's always fun. So the last little bit of this esoteric little wave rant that I'll leave you with is, think about your training over time, right? You just crashed into the shore. Now you're receding back. this is time for growth, right? And because then what we want to do is we want to make sure next time we have a bigger wave and it goes a little bit further on the shoreline, and then back and forth. And each time we want to try to get a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further on the shoreline until you eventually will reach what could be the potential, right, of high tide for you as a person. And that high tide, essentially the furthest down the shore that wave's ever going to go, that's the peak of your physical performance. And then afterwards, that tide begins to recede back further and further and further, and as you get older and older. And so you want to make sure that you treat your body and you respect that sort of wave that it's going through, so that this way when you get there, you reach your true potential. You get as far along as you could possibly be, instead of trying to run yourself ragged just because you feel like you need to train intense all the time just because. Because then you'll wear your body out prematurely and it'll be an unfortunate sort of side effect. So I'm done rambling about this stuff. Bob, I hope this video helps you. Good luck to your MMA fights in the future, and thanks for the question. On and on.